Did you ever wonder what would happen if all of the 6 old-gen protagonists fought against all 6 main old-gen villains? I mean, in some cases, the protagonist is stronger, while in others, we saw that the protagonists had to jump the villains with their group in order to stand a chance. But what if we combine all 6 of each group and compare who is the strongest? Do you think the protagonists will win or the villains? Can Luffy defeat Meruem? Can Ichigo defeat Pucci? Let's find out! Well, for you to decide who wins, you need to first know which anime, and more specifically which characters we're talking about. The 6 anime we have are One Piece, Naruto, Bleach, Dragon Ball, Hunter x Hunter, and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. The protagonists are Luffy from One Piece, Naruto from Naruto, Ichigo from Bleach, Goku from Dragon Ball, Gon but in adult form from Hunter x Hunter, and from JoJo, well, there's a bit of a debate on who we should go for. But I think the most interesting ones we could use, who are also fan favorites, are either Giorno or Jotaro. I think I'm gonna be going with Giorno here, as he would make things more interesting. Then for the villains, this becomes a bit more of a debate, since each anime has multiple to choose from. I'll be choosing the one that I think is most appropriate based on fan popularity, strength, and the one that would make the video the most interesting. So from One Piece, I'm gonna go with Blackbeard. For Naruto, I'll choose Madara, and as far as a form, let's go ahead and use his 10 Tails form. For Bleach, we have Aizen. For Dragon Ball, I'll be using Black Frieza, and for Hunter x Hunter, Meruem. And for JoJo's, I think the best options are one of Diavolo, Pucci, or Dio. Since I chose Giorno, I'm not gonna be using Diavolo, and I think the one that would be most interesting to see would be Pucci, so that's who I'm gonna choose. But since we started with cross-universe battles, we should now mention the most exciting cross-universe collab ever made. And which is that? Crystal of Atlan x One Punch Man has just become a reality. One of my favorite things about this cross-platform Magic Punk MMO action RPG is that players can immerse themselves as members of Thornbird Adventurers Guild and uncover the secrets of the Crystal of Atlan with the team. I mean, we have great gameplay, amazing graphics, an exciting story and quest, and all of that combining One Punch Man as well? I mean, what else could you possibly want? And how can you get the most of this limited time event? From June 26th until July 26th, join the game and get bunches of collab rewards for free, which includes, but is not limited to, Saitama Transformation Badge, collab avatar frame, collab avatar, collab title, collab emoji, and many more. Fight against the new boss, Boros. Have a pet, none other than Tatsumaki. Get this insane Genos mount, or damn, even get this insane Fubuki skateboard. And these are literally just some examples. 11 classes to choose from, all unlocked from the start, each with over 20 skill combinations. Providing ample room for players to experiment means you will literally never get bored of the game. Available on iOS, Google Play, PC, and PS5. Enjoy the game, embark on your Magic Punk adventure, and support the channel. Download Crystal of Atlan and play with One Punch Man by using the link in the description down below today. With all of that out of the way, let's now get to the exciting part of the video. But how should we decide which group is the strongest? Here's what we'll do. We'll have each protagonist fight against all 6 villains to see which one comes out on top, even though it'll be 36 rounds. Believe me, some of them will be super brief. Each winner gets a point for their team. Then we'll have an all-out fight of all 6 versus 6 combatants fighting till the end. This round will be awarded with 5 points instead of 1, and at the end, we'll count how many points each group got to decide which group is actually the strongest one. Same as previous cross-anime videos we made, the special abilities each anime has that normally makes the character possessing these abilities defeat any opponent that does not possess such abilities will not work that easily in this video, meaning that the One Piece characters will not be able to just use Conqueror's Haki in order to defeat characters who don't have Haki. The Naruto characters will not just be able to put others into a Genjutsu and get it over with, and so on and so forth. Due to verse equalization, this is just something we have to assume in order for this video to make sense. So let's start with One Piece, and Luffy first. His first opponent will be Meruem. Okay, this is indeed quite difficult to rank, but I think there's a few feats we can use from each character in order to decide which one is the strongest. When it comes to speed, Luffy is surely faster. After all, he can dodge attacks that move with the speed of light during his fight with Kizaru. Strength, this is a bit of a difficult one to conclude, but I actually think Luffy takes this one as well. Durability, again, this is a bit difficult as even though Luffy's durability is no joke, so is Meruem's. I mean, the guy survived a nuclear explosion basically, and only later on died due to radiation poisoning. Stamina now, I think it goes to Meruem, as Luffy's Gear 5 has a very short span in which Luffy can use it without having to take a break in between. Overall, I think Luffy takes this, as the overwhelming speed difference the characters have makes Meruem's work almost impossible. The protagonists take this point. So, how about Luffy versus Pucci now? Pucci can literally accelerate time infinitely until even a new universe is created. His stand, made in heaven is so fast that it appears as if he teleports. So yeah, that's surely faster than Luffy. Truth be told, Pucci is physically fragile. If Luffy hits him once, especially with Gear 5 and Haki, Pucci is done for. However, I do think with Pucci's abilities, this becomes almost impossible. Pucci and the villains get this round. Moving on to Luffy against Frieza. Well, here's why I said that some battles won't take that long to conclude. I mean, do I really need to analyze this one? Frieza is planetary level, able to literally destroy planets like it means nothing. Luffy stands no chance here. Villains get another point. How about Luffy against Madara now? All right, here Luffy's probably once again faster. Something that might be an issue, however, for Luffy is that Madara can use limbo clones, which are basically invisible. But then again, Luffy has access to observation Haki that could either help him sense those clones or at the very least use his future sight to see from where they would strike. So I suppose Luffy could somehow counter that. What's also really important to know is that Madara can both heal injuries incredibly fast, but also, most importantly, has insane durability to the point where he could tank literal Biju bombs like it meant nothing. I know it's not easy to conclude, but I think I'm gonna be giving this to Madara. The villains get yet another win. But what if Luffy now has to face Blackbeard? Well, it is true that for the time being, this power scaling match remains mostly unknown, as Blackbeard has yet to show his full power. But if I had to guess, I would say that currently, Blackbeard is stronger. Do not forget that whenever the battle is off screen, Blackbeard seems to turn the tides of battle and somehow win. He probably has some sort of secret power that Oda just doesn't want to reveal yet. I mean, how did he manage to give Shanks his scar before he even ate any devil fruits? I'd say that for now, Blackbeard is probably stronger, but by the end of the series, Luffy will almost certainly become stronger than him. But for now, the villains are gonna get another point. Next, Luffy versus Aizen. Well, I'm not gonna say a whole lot about this one, since the way I see it, it's quite clear. Not only is the Bleach universe way stronger than the One Piece universe, Aizen stands at the top of the Bleach universe, while Luffy still doesn't. Strength, speed, general abilities, regeneration, stamina, durability? Oh, they all go to Aizen. Aizen wins, and the villains get another point. But now, let's move on to Ichigo. His first opponent will be Meruem. Now, if you thought Luffy was fast, oh, think again, because Ichigo is massively faster than Luffy. And since we now discuss about Meruem, well, yeah, unimaginably faster than Meruem too. In his final forms, Ichigo reacts to and moves faster than light speed attacks, especially in the 1,000-year Blood War arc. Even though Meruem is impressive, he's still grounded within supersonic to hypersonic speeds at best, and not even close to Ichigo or even Bleach standards, to be honest. Strength-wise, this is again leaning towards Ichigo. Meruem is physically powerful, sure, but Ichigo fights beings that can split mountains and even warp dimensions with their strikes. Durability, though, is close. Meruem survived a mini-nuke, which is insane, but Ichigo has taken attacks from beings who can literally alter reality and still stand. As for stamina, Meruem might edge out slightly here, since Ichigo does burn through energy fast when going all out, especially in Benkai. But overall, Ichigo just outclasses Meruem in raw power, speed, and destructive ability. The spiritual pressure, the sheer hacks, the speed, it's all just too much for Meruem to deal with. Ichigo and the protagonists take this point. But what happens now if Ichigo faces off against Pucci? All right, this is an interesting one, as we're talking about a battle between Ichigo's raw power and Pucci's pure hacks abilities. Let's start with speed. At base, Ichigo is already massively faster than light. However, Pucci with Made in Heaven literally accelerates time to the point that even light can't keep up, which technically gives him a speed advantage within his universe's logic. But raw reaction speed, Ichigo likely still wins that. Strength clearly goes to Ichigo, as Pucci's physical strength is nothing special really. He is, after all, the normal human. The only superhuman ability he has is his stand, which yeah, has raw power, but nothing that really compared with Ichigo. Durability, well again, Ichigo takes it. He's survived attacks from beings like Yuaba, who can erase futures, while Pucci can be killed by a well-placed punch if his stand isn't actively helping him. Now for hacks. Now this is where Pucci shines. Made in Heaven allows him to reset the universe and trap opponents in a loop, which is something Ichigo has no direct counter to. But the question is, can Pucci activate it before Ichigo slices him in half? Realistically, no! Ichigo's spiritual awareness and reaction speed would allow him to destroy Pucci before he gets close. So while Pucci's powers are insanely broken on paper, Ichigo's overwhelming speed, destructive power, and combat instincts give him the win here. Ichigo and the protagonists take another point. But what if Ichigo now has to fight Black Frieza? Now, well, this This is where things get seriously one-sided. Starting with speed, Ichigo is fast, no doubt, but Black Frieza is on a completely different level. This is a character who one-shot Goku and Vegeta while they were in their most powerful god-tier forms, Ultra Instinct and Ultra Ego, at the same time, and they never even saw it coming. In terms of raw speed, Frieza wins handily. Strength? Again, Frieza. Ichigo can cut through mountains and battle beings who manipulate dimensions, but Frieza's out here fighting on a multiversal scale, shattering planets and likely solar systems with casual effort. Durability? Ichigo's taken some insane hits, but Frieza has tanked Hakai energy, regenerated from near death, and has survived the vacuum of space and planetary destruction multiple times. Stamina-wise, Black Frieza trained for 10 years in a hyperbolic time chamber and can seemingly fight at full power for extended periods without slowing down. Black Frieza wins this one, no doubt. The villains take this point. How about Ichigo versus Madara now? Starting with speed, Ichigo is arguably faster. Madara, while extremely fast and able to keep up with top-tier ninja like Hashirama and Guy in the 8th Gate, doesn't have clear faster-than-light feats. Strength-wise, Ichigo has clashed with planet-altering beings and shattered realms in battle, while Madara has tanked Biju bombs, summoned meteors, and became the 10-Tails Jinchuriki. Still, Ichigo's raw power scaling is a level higher. Durability? Ichigo has survived dimensional attacks, time-based abilities, and soul-destroying techniques. Madara can regenerate, tank insane damage, and use limbo clones to take hits for him. Tough call, but Ichigo edges out slightly due to surviving higher-level threats. When it comes to hacks, Madara shines. He's got limbo clones, which exist in a separate invisible dimension. The Rinnegan's chakra absorption, truth-seeking orbs, and the potential for infinite Tsukuyomi, a technique that puts the world into an eternal dream state. Since we stated earlier that Genjutsu will not work that easily here, this will not be done so easily for Madara. All in all, while Madara is one of the most broken characters in Naruto, Ichigo simply outclasses him in terms of speed, destructive power, and general destructive hacks. While limbo clones exist in a separate dimension, we saw that Ichigo can literally slash through dimensions. Not to mention, the difference in speed is probably what makes all the difference here. Ichigo and the protagonists take this point. Now, let's see what happens when Ichigo faces off against Blackbeard. I'm not gonna say a whole lot, since I think it's pretty clear who wins this one. Even though Blackbeard still has much of his power unknown, Ichigo is simply on another level. Ichigo and the protagonists take this point as well. And now, let's see what happens when Ichigo is put up against Aizen. You see, in that case, things are a bit simpler to explain. As seen in the manga, even though Ichigo is incredibly powerful, both of Aizen and Ichigo had to team up in order to defeat Yuaba. And among the two of Ichigo and Aizen, Aizen is arguably the more powerful one. Immortal, infinite regeneration, abilities that resemble a deity, Aizen is arguably stronger than Ichigo. At least before the Hell Arc begins, that is. The villains take this point. Moving on, let's talk about Goku next. Alright, so here things are gonna be pretty brief, right? I'm not even gonna discuss a lot about each point. Goku against Meruem, Pucci, Madara, Blackbeard? All that's not worth discussing. First of all, Goku has recently achieved Ultra Instinct Sign, and eventually even perfected Ultra Instinct, allowing him to automatically dodge and counterattack without thinking. He can teleport across universal distances via instant transmission, and his destructive power is arguably enough to destroy entire planets without much effort. Goku takes these 4 points. Easily. Someone that might need a little bit more analysis, though, is Aizen next. You see, Aizen does resemble a deity, as we already analyzed. His feats can maybe be comparable to Dragon Ball feats. But then again, Goku has already defeated gods more than once. When it comes to feats, Aizen is indeed incredibly fast, scaling to light speed and above after his Hogyoku evolution. But Goku is simply on another level, even without Ultra Instinct. Goku in his base forms can react to and move faster than light. With Ultra Instinct, he's moving on a multiversal scale, dodging attacks without thinking and fighting beings who bend reality. Strength? Oh, that one's easy. Physically, Aizen doesn't even come close. Durability? Aizen's nearly unkillable thanks to the Hogyoku constantly regenerating him. But Goku has survived universal shockwaves, Hakai energy, and attacks from gods and angels. Kyoka Suigetsu is the only thing that may cause a bit of a debate, as with it, Aizen puts anyone who sees it under complete hypnosis. You can't trust your own senses at all. But there's a problem. With Ultra Instinct, Goku's body dodges automatically. He doesn't actually rely on visual clues alone. So even if Aizen uses his illusions, Goku would still fight instinctively. I think we analyzed this more than what we had to. So Goku and the protagonists take another win. But now it's time to see what happens when Goku is put up against Black Frieza. I mean, there's no need to really speculate, as we've seen this battle happen in the manga. And even more than that, both Goku and Vegeta teamed up to face Frieza. And what ended up happening? Frieza one-shot Goku and and Vegeta while they were in their most powerful god-tier forms, Ultra Instinct and Ultra Ego, at the same time, and they never even saw it coming. So naturally, for the time being, Frieza and the villains win this point. Moving on to Naruto now. His first opponent will be Meruem. In terms of speed, Naruto in 6 Paths Sage Mode far outclasses Meruem, reacting to light speed and beyond level attacks, while Meruem's speed is impressive only within his own verse. Strength-wise, Naruto's punches can clash with god-tier foes and level terrains, while Meruem's strength, though brutal, doesn't really reach that scale. Durability is closer. I mean, Meruem survived a nuke after all, but Naruto has taken planet-level hits and kept going thanks to regeneration and massive chakra reserves. Stamina also leans Naruto's way, with clones and constant healing giving him an edge in drawn-out fights. Meruem's intellect is his greatest weapon, but even that can't close the gap in raw stats. Naruto and the protagonists take this point. But how about Naruto versus Pucci now? Well, as we mentioned, Pucci's final stand, Made in Heaven, allows him to accelerate time to the point where he can blitz almost any opponent. But that only works if the time acceleration is allowed to build. Naruto in 6 Paths Sage Mode is far too fast and destructive to give Pucci that chance. Naruto's reaction time and sensory abilities would let him detect Pucci before he could activate his ability fully, and one Rasen Shuriken or Tailed Beast Bomb would end the fight instantly. Even if time acceleration starts, Naruto's speed is already god tier, reacting to teleportation level threats, and Pucci's physical durability is nowhere near enough to survive any of Naruto's high level attacks. Pucci's ability is scary, but he doesn't get the chance to use it here. Naruto and the protagonists take another point. Next is Naruto versus Frieza. Once again, no need to discuss this one for long. We all know how it's gonna turn out. Frieza's just on a league of his own when compared with any Naruto character we've seen so far. It's really not a question. Frieza and the villains get another point. But what if we're now to discuss Naruto against Madara? Alright, for this, I know things are bound to become controversial, but here's the facts. We already analyzed Madara's abilities quite a lot, so we're not gonna do it again in full detail. Instead, we'll just say this. During Madara's peak 10 Tails form, multiple opponents needed to attack him at once in order to stand a chance. Among those, Naruto as well. But hear this. Kishimoto himself stated that both Naruto and Sasuke in their adult forms are on their own stronger than Madara was. So in reality, who am I to go against what the creator himself stated? If the creator says that adult Naruto can defeat Madara, then I guess this is exactly what happens. Naruto and the protagonists take this point. Next is Naruto against Blackbeard. Alright, this one's a bit difficult to rule, I suppose. For speed, we've yet to see Blackbeard's full speed feats, as again, we assume he's got one secret power almost no one knows about yet. But generally speaking, we believe Naruto is indeed faster. Add into the equation the thousands of shadow clones he can create, and things start leaning more towards his side. On the other hand, Blackbeard can create black holes that suck in opponents, while also neutralizing their devil fruit powers. But since Naruto doesn't use a devil fruit, this becomes a bit more tricky to conclude. Overall, I think this specific one is the most difficult to conclude, since not only do the general abilities make this really difficult to predict, since, things become very complex in cross-anime situations, but also, the most important thing is that we don't know how much more powerful Blackbeard becomes when being off screen. Overall, I get the feeling that Naruto would win this, but at the end of the day, I might just be wrong. Let me know in the comments down below who you think would win in this situation, Naruto or Blackbeard. For now, we'll be giving Naruto and the protagonists this point. Moving on to Naruto against Aizen. Speed-wise, Aizen's evolved form after the Hogyoku grants him light speed movement and near immortality through regeneration and illusions. But Naruto in 6 Paths Sage Mode moves and reacts in feats that could seem similar for some, easily dodging attacks at light speed and beyond. So for speed, I think I'll be going for Aizen, as in general, their characters seem to be faster than the characters of the Naruto-verse. Strength feats are something similar here as well, as both Naruto and Aizen seem to have similar, or at the very least comparable, physical feats. Durability is where Aizen shines, thanks to the Hogyoku's regeneration, since Naruto's healing from Kurama in Sage Mode is indeed impressive, but ultimately not even remotely as advanced as Aizen's. The wild card is Aizen's Kyoka Suigetsu Hypnosis, which can manipulate all senses, but Naruto's sensory abilities and sheer speed would likely prevent Aizen from gaining the upper hand. After all, Naruto is also keen on dealing with Genjutsu, which, let's face it, it should be something similar to Aizen's hypnosis. Even though Naruto can create hundreds, if not thousands of clones, they are all very fragile. And let's face it, Aizen has no known ways to die, at least for the time being. Plus, if you add the infinite stamina that Aizen has, overall, I think I'll be giving this one to Aizen. The villains are gonna take this point. Now it's time to talk about Giorno Giovanna. Starting off easy, Meruem from Hunter x Hunter. With Gold Experience Requiem, Giorno doesn't even need to hit Meruem directly or dodge anything. This stand automatically nullifies any action that could harm Giorno by reverting it to 0, meaning Meruem literally can't win, no matter how strong or fast he is. Strength and durability don't really matter here. Even if Meruem blew up the planet, Gold Experience Requiem would erase the consequence and make it so the action never happened. Meruem's intelligence and adaptability are elite, but this set of abilities are completely beyond logic or counterplay. Giorno doesn't just win, he can't lose. The protagonists take this point. But how about Giorno against Pucci now? Well, here's the only thing I'm gonna say. The creator of JoJo's, Hirohiko Araki, was asked why Giorno was not shown and even arrived to fight against Pucci in JoJo Part 6. Well, his reply was that, quote, "I couldn't see a way in which Giorno would lose to Pucci and thus make the story interesting." In other words, Giorno's abilities are so broken that even the creator admits he didn't want to bring him in again, as things would have been too simple, aka Giorno would simply win. So no question here, Giorno and the protagonists take another point. Next is Frieza. Alright, here, this is really difficult to conclude, because even though Frieza is unimaginably more powerful than Giorno, as his feats include literally destroying entire planets, at the end of the day, Giorno's stand means that if the two are put face to face, or, well, even not face to face, as long as the stand is active, any action that could harm Giorno will be returned to 0, as if it never happened. Now, the only way for Giorno to defeat Frieza is by touching him, and thus trapping him in an infinite death loop, just like he did with Diavolo. But given that no matter what Giorno does, he needs to touch Frieza in order to harm him, then I think this kind of becomes an impossible feat. The moment the stand is deactivated, Giorno's no longer protected, and thus Frieza destroys him, along with his entire planet, to be honest. The villains take this point. How about Giorno versus Madara now? Well, even though Madara is faster, has higher destructive potential and such, as long as he does not know how Giorno's abilities work, if he makes the mistake of trying to touch Giorno, then it's all over. Since Giorno has complete cover of any attack as long as his stand is active, if within that period he manages to touch Madara, he wins. Even though difficult, I tend to lean a bit more towards Giorno, as all it needs is a touch. In reality, I suppose it could go either way, but I'm gonna be giving this one to the protagonists. On to Giorno versus Blackbeard. Come on, I think there's no need to analyze this one for long. Blackbeard doesn't have an ability that could in any way bypass Giorno's stand, and since all it takes is that single touch, Giorno takes this round easily. The protagonists take another round as well. Now, even though all of that was easy to conclude, what do you think would happen if Giorno was faced up against Aizen? Alright, here, truth be told, Giorno's ability is probably among the only known abilities that could actually harm Aizen, as in, trap him in an infinite death loop. But having said that, Giorno needs to first touch Aizen for that to happen. This is a very difficult one to rule, but similar to how we explained things in Frieza's case, I think something similar would play out here as well, and thus Aizen would manage to come out on top. The villains get this round. And now we head to the final protagonist before we start speaking about the most interesting part of this video, which is, of course, the all-out battle of all 6 versus 6 characters fighting against each other. And now let's go ahead and talk about Gon. I think we should be brief on this one. Aizen, Madara, and Frieza, there's not really a need to discuss who would win. Gon obviously loses, and it's not even close. So those 3 villains go ahead and get a point here. But how about Gon against Meruem now? Now this, to be honest, has been a very hypothetical scenario fans have been speculating about for years now. Would adult Gon be as strong as Meruem, or potentially even stronger, or not? Well, let's find out. You see, P2 herself stated that she felt grateful she was the one faced with Gon and not someone else, meaning that she thinks Gon could have a chance of even defeating Meruem if the two of them faced like that, even though it could go either way. Given that Gon's adult form can only be maintained for a short period of time, during which time he's not even far superior to Meruem, so he might not even defeat him in an instant, I think I'm gonna be giving this to Meruem. The villains get another point. And now, Gon against Blackbeard. Alright, this one, to be honest, is actually pretty difficult to rank. However, I will say that the One Piece anime is currently considered way stronger than the Hunter x Hunter universe, at least before we start exploring the Dark Continent, that is. Since Gon has yet to receive any power-ups that would put him on par with the strongest beings of the Dark Continent, I think Blackbeard would probably take this round. So the villains get another point. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for, the all-out war against the 12 combatants. 6 villains against 6 protagonists. Who do you think wins? Well, let's find out. Now, just for reference, the score so far is 19-17 in favor of the protagonists, meaning that whoever wins the all-out battle is actually the full winner, as this round gets 5 points. It's the most important round, after all. Alright, so here's how we think things would most likely turn out. So we've got Frieza, Aizen, Madara, Blackbeard, Meruem, and Pucci against Goku, Ichigo, Luffy, Naruto, Giorno, and Gon. So first and foremost, the strongest character here is probably Black Frieza, and as a result, the protagonists need to come up with a strategy to defeat him. So what they do is the following. They have 2 characters on him that combined might be able to defeat him, and these 2 are Goku and Giorno. Goku can't defeat him on his own, but if Goku somehow manages to have Giorno touch Frieza, then he can have him being put in an infinite death loop, rendering him unable to fight ever again. But well, given Aizen's and Madara's battle IQ, you better believe he would 100% see through this and try to prevent it, meaning that it's now up to the rest of the characters to fight off and hold off Aizen, so that the duo of Goku and Giorno can finish off Frieza. Blackbeard tries casting black holes and earthquakes all over the place in order to cause some confusion, but well, Naruto is more than used to this kind of condition. Naruto creates a bunch of shadow clones and teams up with Ichigo to stop both Aizen and Madara. Naruto also has some of his shadow clones transform into Ichigo, so that it creates further confusion, while also leaving some of his shadow clones behind to tend to the third group battles. And that third group left is Luffy and Gon, alongside a few of Naruto's clones, against Meruem, Blackbeard, and Pucci. Now, it's worth mentioning that even though we've been describing all these for solid 30 minutes now, in actual battle time, not even a second has passed. Do not forget that the characters here move with speeds faster than light. Alright, so how do things turn out? Well, 2 things happen that seem quite surprising. Frieza is defeated way too easily by Goku and Giorno, while somehow Meruem annihilates the entire squad of Luffy, Gon, and even the Naruto clones. Goku senses that something is off, something he can't explain. Frieza's ki is not only way too weak, it's also different than other times. Could it be that Frieza's power level became so high that Goku's sense can no longer sense him properly? But again, he was defeated way too easily. How could that be possible, you might ask? Well, remember how Aizen's abilities work? All of these happened exactly because of Aizen. He has everyone's senses change Meruem and Frieza. So Goku and Giorno were fighting Meruem instead of Frieza, and Luffy, Gon, and some of Naruto's clones were fighting in a group against Frieza. What ended up happening was that Meruem is now out of the battle on the side of the villains, while Luffy and Gon are out on the side of the protagonists. And not only that, but by the time everyone realizes what just happened, Frieza jumps towards the second group and completely annihilates Naruto and Ichigo, meaning it's just Goku and Giorno against Frieza, Aizen, Madara, Blackbeard, and Pucci. Giorno is left alone since no one can touch him while his stand is active. Thus, they all focus on Goku. And well, things are way too much for Goku now. Goku is defeated, and all the villains have to do is wait for Giorno's stand to be deactivated. Once that happens, Giorno is killed as well. Thanks to Aizen's perfect plan and Frieza's power, the villains managed to secure the win while only sacrificing one member, their weakest one as well, Meruem. The match ends 22-19 in favor of the villains, and thus, this decides who among them is the strongest group. Click on this video next, where I'm creating the strongest crew in anime's history. Go on, check it out!